Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I recently was on the Perpetual Chess Podcast, um, which, if you haven't seen, it's really great. And I've been listening to a lot more of these podcasts now that I'm aware of it. I honestly didn't even know about this. So it's perpetualchesspod.com, and I was recently featured on this podcast. You basically just go to listen to episodes if you wanted to see it. And yeah, I think, at least for now, I'm only like a couple down. Not sure why it's not loading. There we go. Yeah, so there's me. I should probably update that photo a little bit. But yeah, so I was featured on here, and I gave like study advice because I recently had a big jump in my rating. Yeah, up to 1777. So yeah, it was a 300-point rise, and I just talk about that and what I did to get there. I know there's probably like a million things you can do, but I just shared like what I did specifically that helped me. And one of the things that I mentioned was this like flashcard method that I do. So that's what this video is about, and so I'd like to get into that. Okay. So first thing is I basically have a computer file here with chess stuff. And you'll see I have a flashcards folder. So let's go in there. This is where I keep all my flashcards. So I do have them divided by category basically. And yeah, I already have quite a few. So I have what? Probably about 150 of these. I've been doing this for about, let's see, it says August 19th. That's not right. Let's see what my first one was. May 20th. So May, June, July, August. So about 4 months now I've been doing this. And yeah, and I have different categories. So I started off with just tactics, and then I realized that there were times when strategic ideas came into play that I wanted to know. So I started making strategic flashcards. Then even with openings, and then I'm even experimenting with doing like tournament specific flashcards because the Cleveland Open is like a really important tournament to me. It's a slow classical time control. So, so I have all the time in the world to think. So when I miss ideas, I know I truly don't know them. It's not a time thing, you know? So I'm making a box just on that. And then I have, I want to learn the French defense. So I guess my secret's out on that. And I plan on doing like 10 French defense flashcards to start out and see like how that goes. So, okay. So I'm going to show you right away how this goes. I'm going to go into a box I've been working on. So it's the strategic 26 through 50. And what I want to show you is how I do this. So when I study flashcards, I mean, I work full time, or at least I did until recently, but now I technically still do for until at least November 1st. With that in mind, like I want to be able to do this pretty quickly. So what I do is 15-minute studies, and my goal is to get through the entire box of 25. And actually, I'm missing one in this one. Um, but yeah, the goal is to get through the whole box in the 15 minutes. And if I can do that and get them all right 3 times, then I consider that box mastered and I move on to the next one again. So let's have a look at what these are like. So like here's the first one. All right, I remember this one. This is one that I am John Bartholomew went over with me. This is from my own game. This was a Banco Gambit. And here I played a bad move. Now in my older on my older flashcards, I don't even have any notes on them. You just see like white's move or black's move, and the idea is that I should know what to do from here. And I do remember this immediately, so I know this pattern. I remember this game, and it's the move Queen D7. So this is strong here because it is a tempo on the knight. The knight would be hit twice then. And on top of that, it prepares rook e8. So it's like a useful move for two reasons. And that is something I want to remember. Because here I played something ridiculous. I think I played something really passive, like maybe queen d8, looking to come to f8 if the queen came to h6. And so I do remember that I was afraid of queen h6 and knight g6. And this flashcard is reminding me that instead of going passive and defending a threat that's not even a threat, because I could just bring the bishop back. If queen h6, then bishop g7, tempo on the queen. So this card is definitely reminding me that instead of seeing a ghost like this and reacting to it, it's good to consider other options, and queen d7 is the strongest move. If I can get rook e8 in, I think I'm just doing well, really well as black. So there you go. And I took a little time on that one, but normally I could look at this and be like, queen d7, hit the knight, prepare rook e8, and then I go the next one. So it's a really fast thing. All right, we'll look at the next one now. Yes, this is from one of my games as well. And the idea here is this was a critical moment in one of my games that I messed up because I failed to see that en passant here actually is winning for black. So I could take, check, and if the king were to capture the pawn, I'll take the rook. So the king cannot capture. So we'll say, what is this? Pawn takes f3. Yeah, pawn takes f3. King f2. I'm going to play rook takes e1. King takes e1. And then g5. g4. Sorry, I don't know my squares that good. So g4, solidifying this structure. And if the pawn pushes, I'll play h5. And then if it takes, I still have this structure here, which is pretty much going to be winning for black because I have a passed pawn. And white has a majority here, but it's not going to be enough because my king's too far up. And the other thing that I do remember is this king, once my pawn's on f3, this king can never step away because if he ever does, I'll play f2 and he has to run right back. And so for that reason, the black king's going to be able to sneak in and this is winning for black. So that's the idea to remember. And that's probably more than I normally remember. I think remembering en passant takes win the rook and en passant king here, take the rook, king takes, and g4 is probably as deep as I need to go. All I need to do is learn one idea and burn it into my brain. So that's sort of the point of these flashcards. Okay, and there's this one here. So this is bishop to g5. And what's the idea I missed here? Well, this is again from one of my games, and the computer showed me an idea I didn't even consider for a second. And that's the move queen g4. So you better believe next time the bishop shoots out like this, I'm going to be looking at queen g4. It's a tempo on this pawn is the point. And the queen's kind of good on g4. And, okay. So the idea behind these flashcards is that you go through them really quickly and you burn these patterns and ideas into your brain. And what you're doing is you're expanding your chess arsenal. So it's more tools and ideas for you to work with during your games because it's not all calculation. You also need to know these patterns and these ideas. And the more you know, the bigger the better, the more choice of resources you'll have. Okay, and let's go a little further so I can show you my flashcards sort of evolved too. So I use this sticky program on MacBook. I like it, these cute little sticky notes, and you can just type whatever you want, and I ask questions, right? So so this is number 40, and this one's, a little more in depth. How can white win this endgame is the question. Well, I definitely remember this right away. I'm going to go queen b3 check, king a1, and now what's funny about this is I can go queen c2, and black's in zugzwang, and if this pawn wasn't here, it would just be a draw because I can never do anything without stalemating. Because queen c2 would just be a stalemate. But in this case, black pushes, and then I play queen c1 checkmate. It's a kind of funny idea there. All right, and let's say I wasn't sure about my answer. I have this little text file, and this is what stores the answer keys. And there's probably better ways to do this. I'm sure there is, but this is just how I do it. So, number 40. Okay, fine. Let's go to number 40, and it says, how can white win this endgame? It's important that due to the h pawn, black does not have stalemate. So we mate him. Queen b3 check, king a1, queen c2, h2, king c1 checkmate. Okay, so I got it right. Okay, and that's pretty much how I do that. Now, I want to show you like how I make these flashcards as well. So what do I do? Well, I use the Skid program, so here it is in all its glory. And this is a game I was analyzing from the Cleveland Open where, okay, I took here and he played knight e6. This is a crazy part of the game. Knight e6 is actually the wrong move, but for kind of a deep reason. And so I am going to make a flashcard of this, and I'll show you why. So like here I played f takes e6. He traded bishops. Rook takes e6. And now I played rook f8, which is a huge blunder. And the reason is after queen e4, he's attacking both these pawns, and I have problems. But there is actually a winning move here, and I want to see. I'll pull up the computer engine. Yeah, and you can see here, like, rook f8 actually holds, but it's hard. But bishop c8 looks like it's winning for black, minus 2.2. Yeah, so bishop c8, which is a tempo move on the rook. So it's really sad I didn't see this move. I probably would have won had I seen this one move. But I didn't see it in my calculations. So the two lessons I want to learn is that I should look for this kind of stuff in my calculations. But also, I very quickly played rook f8 because I just thought, oh, tempo on the queen, and this is what I calculated. But next time, when I'm in this position, I'm going to take my time and look at all my candidate moves more closely because I think playing that fast was just plain wrong, horribly wrong. This is a critical moment in the game that I screwed up. So okay, I want to make a flashcard of this, right? And I'm going to ask myself, what's the right move here? So I do Shift Command 4 because I'm on a MacBook, but do your screenshots any way that you want. And by doing Shift Command 4, I can actually just create a board here. Okay. And now this will go to my desktop. Okay, and I'll pull this up and I'll use my little sticky program and I'll say, okay, and I included the arrows. I usually take those out, but just for purposes of showing you guys what I do, I'm just going to say, what should black play here? Is a move, or only one move wins for black. What is it and why? And I might do that. And then what I do is I screenshot again. So Shift Command 4, and now I'll go like this and include my note. Okay, I'm going to close out of that, and that one's no good now. And now I put this in, let's say, and I'll update this later, but I actually do want to keep this one since I'm missing one flashcard, so this is perfect. Okay, so strategy 50. And then very simply, I go into the answer key and I put in the answer that I figured out. And so, often I'll spend a lot of time on this part because I want to fully understand the position like very clearly before I memorize it. And what I would say here is I usually pull this up again while I'm doing this. So only one move wins for black. What is it and why? Tempo move on the rook. And okay, well, why does that work? I'm not even sure now. And without calculating, I can at least look at the line and say, okay, so queen c3 check is a move here. I actually did calculate something like this during the game. I wonder why I didn't play it. And then, I might add the rest of the line. And what's the notation for black is winning there? Maybe like that. Or I could even say like, I often do like minus 2.2, so I know like what the computer said about the position. Okay, so I'll probably edit that later, but you get the idea. That's pretty much how I make the flashcards. So I hope this has been useful. The last thing I will do is show you the different kinds. So I have tactical ones. I think these are pretty obvious, right? I'll show you like one of the early ones, so I hopefully will know it fast. I'm not sure I remember this one actually. Oh, I think this is white to move. Oh, this is from one of my Scandi games. There's sharp bishop g5 lines, and this is definitely one of them. And yeah, and the move is knight g5. I do remember this. So that's a tempo on the queen. And the problem is, it's a tempo on the queen and this bishop is hanging. So this is like, and this is a really good example of what's helpful to do, because I play this opening a lot. So if I can remember this pattern, that knight g5 or just my queen being on e6 is a problem, that's going to help me when I'm calculating different lines, and maybe I see that this position's starting to form, and then I avoid it. So that's just one example. Yeah, this is also from a Scandi. And okay, let's look at an opening one so you can see what that looks like. Okay, I remember this one sort of more in depth than I usually do, but I like to ask questions like, what is this opening? What is the mainline continuation for moves deep? Okay, well, I know this to be the Queen's Gambit accepted. It's definitely that. This came from a game I played against Roy Allen Bumpers. I remember this at Parma Chess Club. And yeah, it was probably back in or May or June or something like that. It was quite a few months ago. Um, yeah, and I remember in the game being worried about c5, and it turns out that is the main line here. So let's say black plays c5, attacking my d pawn. What should I do? I'm pretty sure that I just castle here. And then black, just knowing the main line, a6. I'm going to play a4 because they're trying to play b5 and kick my bishop. I play a4, very common idea. Now they're going to play knight c6, putting their knight behind the c-pawn. And I play queen e2. This defends the bishop, which is nice, but it also prepares my next move, which is after the pawn takes, I'm going to play rook to d1. And that's basically the main line. And so next time I have a Queen's Gambit accepted, I can remember, moves like that in my calculations, knowing that that's the right way to play this or a typical way to play this. But I have other ones too. I kind of want to show like another one that I think is useful is when you ask, like this. This is a cool one for openings that I think is helpful. So what is this called, and what are the three main moves for black here? So I do recall this one. This is the pawn return variation of the Banco Gambit. And what are the three main moves for black? Well, queen takes b6 is possible. I remember that. and then also e6, which is the way I play it now, and d6 is also a move. And I do recall that g6 is a move too, but the three main moves are e6, d6, queen takes b6. And now let's check and see if I'm right. Yeah, and it's funny because like you look at some of these flashcards later, like this one, for example, and I'm like, that seems kind of obvious to me now. But that's because I learned it and reviewed it a bunch of times. All right, so opening 11. Yeah, so Benko Gambit pawn return variation. And we've got e6, d6, queen takes b6. And I put, we are playing e6 instead of queen takes b6. Yeah, totally right. I like the e6 variations. I've even studied them in more depth by now. All right, well, I think that does it. The other thing I wanted to say is aside from pulling flashcards from my own games, I do pull them from books, especially like this is my current book I'm working on, Build Up Your Chess by Artur Yusupov. I freaking love this book. It's so great. Like the structure of it is awesome, but also even though it says the fundamentals and it's like book one of this like 9-book series, it's challenging. Okay, I think it is. I mean, Artur Yusupov is like a strong grandmaster, so I guess it makes sense that a lot of things are basic to him that I haven't even seen yet, and that's pretty much the case. But that's, as an improving player, isn't that what I want? I want to know the things that are basic to strong players that I've never seen. That is exactly what I want to be studying. So I love this book for this, and I put a lot of positions in here from this. Oh, and I'll do one last one because there's one that's really cool. If I can remember which one. I have in the strategic section, I have a bunch of queen endgames versus 7th rank pawns that are really cool. And I thought I would show, oh, it must be a little bit earlier. Is it 36? Something tells me it's 36. It is. Okay. So we'll do this and wrap up the video. Okay, so it's white to move. Is this winning and why? Calculate to the end. And I'm going to quiz you guys. So if you'd like, pause the video and then I'll show the answer. Okay, and it's white to move. Is this winning? I'm going to tell you that yes, it is winning. Why is it winning? It's because the king is on the wrong side of the pawn. This is a knight pawn, which is more drawish, bishop pawn. If it was a knight pawn, this would definitely be winning for easy reasons. But this is a knight pawn, so it's usually a draw. But here it isn't, because the king is 2 spaces away from the b3 square. Okay, and now I'm going to show you the power of flashcards, because I know exactly how to win this. All right, so I'm going to start off with a check. I'm going to play queen d4 check. The king should step to e2. If he goes in front, I'll put my king up right away. So he should go to e2. I'm going to attack the pawn. So queen c3. He should go king d1, defend the pawn. I think it's the only move, otherwise he loses it. And now I'm going to play queen d3 check. He should play king c1, is kind of forced. So now I'll bring my king up. And now I'm only 1 step away from that b3 square. So we're going to say king c4 here. He should stop my king from getting there, so he's going to play king b2. All right, and my queen's still here, so I'm going to play queen d2, pinning the pawn to the king. And now black's pretty much in zigzag. I don't know what he could really do. I think he has to play king b1, but now this is really interesting. He plays king b1, and the pawn can queen, but I'm going to play king b3 and allow the queening. So pawn queens on the c1 square, and I'm going to play queen to a2 checkmate. Really cool idea. And without that checkmate, this would be a draw. But because of this threat and the king being so close to execute this threat, this is a win for white. Now let's check. Yeah, let's go in here. And this is number what? 36, I believe. So, okay, so here we go. Is white winning this endgame? Yes, because the king is on the wrong side of the pawn. King a1 needed for stalemate. Queen d4 check, king e2, queen c3, attack the pawn, king d1 defends it, king d3, or queen d3 check, that should be. I can edit this too, though. Force king in front, king c1, king c4, my king moves up, king wants to b3 square, king b2, queen d2 pinning, king b1, king b3, exclam, allowing the queening due to mate. c1 equals queen, queen a2 checkmate. So there you go. So I got it right. That's in large part thanks to reviewing this repeatedly. So due to the flashcard method. And I really hope I have the chance to play this over the board at some point. But if not, I feel like these sorts of exercises and patterns being burned into my brain do help me to become a better chess player. Now, of course, I'm just showing you guys what I do. Everyone has their own learning methods, I think. I mean, that's how I feel. But if you can derive anything out of this or try something new, if you've never done anything like this, maybe it is worth trying at least and see if it works, might as well. Okay, so yeah, that's all. Thanks for those of you that listen to the podcast, and I really appreciate that. And I guess that's all. All right. I'll be around. Have a great day. Bye.